I went to a community theater production of a play by a famous playwright. And it was your classic living room drama with the striped couch, the ebony cocktail table, the tray of martini glasses, and these awful decayed wasp figures, the patriarch, the matriarch, the grown daughters, everyone bitter, throwing verbal hand grenades back and forth. The only thing missing was picking the olives out of the martini glasses and throwing them at each other. And I sat through this, and well into it I thought, my God, I could write a better play than this. I would put a zombie in this. So I went home, rented the movie Night of the Living Dead, which I had not seen in many years. And when I first saw it, I'm sure I dismissed it. A cult horror movie, not my thing. But this time, I went over to the video store. This was long ago when we still had video stores. Rented the DVD, rented the cassette tape, I should say. Came home, had an old big square blocky television set, stuck the tape in it, and I just was transfixed by this movie. I felt somehow I was watching my own life in this movie. Started writing poems. Some of the poems were about the movie itself, imagining the story of what's going on in the movie. So little is explained in the movie. It left a lot of room for my imagination to fill in. Some of the poems, they were about myself, my father, my brother, my mother. And the movie almost became like a form of family therapy for me. In my mother's case, she suffered a series of terrible strokes when she was 62. She spent 10 years in a nursing home, purgatory. Her brain was scrambled. She kind of didn't know what was happening from moment to moment. Her memory was very fragmented. She thought, she knew who I was, but she thought I was 23 years old, and she thought I was married to a cousin of mine named Muggsy. So she really was disoriented. Couldn't walk, sat in a wheelchair, her feet were bent inwards. I'm not even sure she could stand up straight on those feet. And the nursing home was like that. It was filled with people like her, older people, crippled, crazy, strange noises coming out of them, not really able to control what they're doing. And so, zombies, I thought, I've been through zombies. I've seen them in my mother, I've seen them in the nursing home. The other side of it was my father and my brother, and even myself to a certain degree. And in my late father, what I would see is this sort of very flat, blank expression. He was a very intelligent man. You could talk politics with him all day long. But it was as if the emotional conversation wasn't happening. The empathy wasn't there, at least not that I could read. Very flat person. And I see that in my brother as well. And I feel haunted that I have that as in myself. This lack of response, this kind of flat affect. And I thought, maybe I have the zombie gene. And I see that in zombies too. These people coming at you, and they see you, but there's no human energy exchange, because in the case of zombies, they want to eat you. So I think those forces really made this movie and writing these poems into quite a almost therapeutic experience for me, really exploring these darker sides of my own life and the world as I see it. Finished the poems, thank God I finished the poems, published the poems years ago, and only as I was publishing the poems did I discover that the entire world had gone zombie crazy. A friend pointed out there was a fashion article in the New York Times about zombies. I thought, how'd they end up on the fashion pages? But there they are. So I want to share the poems with you tonight because they still are with me. Years later, I read them again and I still feel haunted by them, but haunted in a good way. So I would like to read the poems with you. And as I do, I would like you to join me in watching the movie, Night of the Living Dead. Why I love zombies. They've let go of their pride. They're not vampire aristocrats, spoiled by virginal necks, or mummies older than Christ. They're retired plumbers in boxer shorts, pulled snug on beer and potato chip bellies, or housewives in dumpy nightgowns, wandering barefoot on the lawn, hypnotized by crickets. They're not Frankenstein's monster with bolts in his neck, or alien cone heads with 500 IQs and rotten claw teeth. They're volunteer firemen with charcoal puffy eyes from watching Carson night after night, or secretaries softening faces with cold cream before bed. They're not bikers, hippies, or rednecks, the stock villains of 1968, but young men with good haircuts and worthwhile careers, teaching high school biology or managing a Chevrolet showroom. All good citizens. They're eager to help a young crew from Pittsburgh film a low-budget nightmare at an old farmhouse. Amid spotlights slashing the lawn, they shuffle and groan as cameramen kneel for close-ups. Gunshots to the chest, spikes to the head. They're thrown out and burned like junk furniture. They have no idea one day they'll be famous, terrifying us by being so ordinary. The zombie gene. I see it in the way my brother drives 45 on the highway, a company messenger despite his master's degree. Entering rooms, he no longer turns on the lights, just sits in the dusk, furrowing his brow. The winter our mother died, he walked at the beach and pronounced himself cured. I wish I could drive a tire iron through his forehead, puncture his lethargy, release his ambition. Instead, he still lives with Dad and nags him over TV dinners to take blood pressure pills. Late night in the den, where we first watched Night of the Living Dead, they now revere Charlie Rose interviews. They don't understand. In their backyard, deafening crickets mask the slobbering chewing of a zombie still wearing her old tennis dress for gardening. I feed her my heart. She never stops eating. A daughter of zombies. Let's start with the bark-faced woman hugging the matching bark of a tree to devour a beetle with an appetite verging on lechery. Did her daughter grow up to be a serial killer, cannibal, pet torturer, guest sicko on Springer at least? Or did she become ordinary, a manicurist, bank teller, or better, a hospital nurse in rural Pennsylvania where you'd think nothing ever goes wrong, but does, with chainsaws, ladders, deer rifles, And, of course, alcohol, men, and vehicles. Sure, she's seen miracles, fingers sewn on, hearts shocked back to beating, but never the dead reawakening, not like her mother in bark makeup. No, the dead simply looked a size or two smaller after losing all prospect of moving. After work, she volunteers at the church pantry, visits old family friends in nursing homes, sticks to Weight Watchers, and keeps all regrets about not marrying to herself. For videos, she prefers romantic comedies and anything with Steve Martin. But every so often rents Night of the Living Dead to watch her mother. Yes, her mother, the school librarian who insisted on Sunday dinner with linen napkins and grace, plunges to her knees to savor that beetle. Her bark face twists beyond pain into ecstasy. What did the director say to give her mother such freedom? Respect. To reach through boarded-up window slots into the scared light of men with hammer and rifle. To want nothing more than to touch human warmth, even as they sever your fingers. To grab hold of the barrel as the bond between you and pull with all the love you can muster. To accept the shot to your chest, the stain blossoming on your white shirt. To bow with respect. To raise your head slowly in shadows that make caves of your eyes. To let darkness stanch your wounds. To step forward softly, not to disturb worms. To approach the window accepting the sad truth. Their terrible fear is the burden that allows grace. To say nothing, no matter how brutal the shooting, how many fingers you leave on the floor. To lie on the lawn after the third shot opens your third eye. To stare at the stars, which have seen this before and will see it again. Child star. Bitten by a zombie, the 9-year-old girl lay feverish under blankets. Only one line to remember, and she didn't forget. I hurt. Pale and solitary, she never fidgeted or needed to pee. On a basement table, she lay at peace with her parents' bickering. Her bull-headed father triumphed down the stairs to throw his crushed cigarette pack and announce, "We'll see when they come begging me." Her dark-haired mother with beauty queen lips sneered. We may not enjoy living together, but dying together isn't going to solve anything. Long bathed in strife, the girl ignored them, yet noticed all the adults working on set smoked, and a year later started herself. Lucky's, then Parliaments. She didn't think much of her performance, but who can forget her? She rose at the end in her Sunday dress to two-hand a trowel over her head, revealing the slip at her knees, then dug deep into her mother's chest to find the love that she wanted. In black and white, blood splattered the walls as if she'd struck oil. The nude model with a mortuary tag on her wrist. How far did you walk from your cold table on wheels, Smythe, Carol, 40916. How many pasture fences did you cross without scratches? Road puddles without muddying toes? Arriving late at the lawn party, you mingle among wives in sack dresses who envy your marble white poses. All the good husbands ignore how moonlight sculpts your buttocks and casts a tail down your spine. The forlorn painter who loved you without a word shuffles under a spruce, his cheeks peeling like paper mache. He never mastered the flesh you modeled with such ease. For hours you were his Venus until you asked, so politely, if you might pee. Is it tragic you died so young? Or do we prefer you this way? Breasts firm as refrigerated dough, dew-polished chins smelling of hay. All we know, you left before the party spilled into the house, nor in the morning did the posse sweeping fields drop you with a marksman's shot. Are you still walking, luring farm boys down from their silos to consummate in hay? Are you releasing doves from their rib cages, leading you home to the sea? The screenwriter's cameo. At 4 a.m., he sidles in the mudroom door, tattered sleeve hanging from his uplifted arm. The spotlight casts a corona on her blonde hair, his heroine in an easy chair, far more angelic than he dared put into words. Under hot lights, her perfume smells of roses. He acts his best, despite his gimpy leg dragging a fold in the rug, his left hand clutching his waist as if stabbing pains are trying to reel him out the door by a fishhook. He has so much to confess, if only she'd notice. He wrote his dreams into her role, not just the blonde hair, but her loyalty and church-going, the way she stopped to listen to a music box. He's not the lurid hack she might think. Half the stories about bar girls and trailer parks aren't even true. He'd introduce himself properly, but his dry throat rasps, strip-mined by cigarettes and laryngitis. He's worked so hard on this movie. 2 titles rejected, drastic rewrites on set. His old Steeltown buddies recruited for extras. Earlier tonight, he made crew sandwiches for 20. No task too small, a pickle and potato chips on every plate. Asking for a cameo after the professionals left for bed, he thought he only wanted a minute of fame, but now lurches forward, so desperate and lovesick, he frightens himself with his talent for ruin. He knows his bad Dracula makeup drips black lipstick down his chin. He knows he wrote this movie. She'll only glance once, then run out on his pathetic entreaties. The hero will tackle him to the rug, hammer a tire iron into his melon-soft head. Yet his good hand reaches from his tattered sleeve as if he can touch the woman who wants him to write from his heart instead of his greed. The Ritchie brothers. Rudy and Richie, still so handsome after driving drunk through the railing, shambling and late to the party with killer black lashes and cavernous eyes, bruised lips, half-buttoned shirts, and cologne like formaldehyde. The women adore you. yet sense a great change. No more necking in doorways or trophy bras slung over doorknobs. Not even the nude model with marble white skin catches your eyes. What happened? No swigging back pocket pints? No fire in your breath? No lust in your hands? You wait patiently in line with zombies to scavenge from the farm truck's burnt cab. Then kneel with hunger you didn't know you had to grab squirmy intestines spilled on the grass. The long tube you chew towards the middle brings you to a last bite shared like a kiss. Rudy and Richie in love at last. The final survivor. Past dawn, the black actor crouches safely behind the basement door thick as a dungeon's. Unlike Hollywood's Poitier, he hasn't said a word about race, or smoldered and seethed, or sought grace. All he's done was burst out of glaring parked headlights into the farmhouse of his first movie to take charge, boarding up windows and doors, finding slippers for the blonde's chilly feet, organizing the escape that failed when the farm truck exploded, caught by burning gasoline spilled like rope on the grass. To make it back to the house, he torch-lit zombies like scarecrows who tried to brush flames off their chests. He rubs his face for the 100th time to stay awake. He smoked his last cigarette. He worries his mother will forget he's working all night and won't return to her Pittsburgh apartment. Sometimes at breakfast, he recites Shakespeare. She listens intently before coffee or putting on glasses. A school teacher, she taught him literature counts. Between takes, he's read serious books. No small talk. He understands why Beckett restored silence to World Without God. He has theatrical ambitions. The Negro Ensemble Company has called from New York. But first, he's helping friends finish this film. He taught the amateur cast how to throw good movie punches. He nailed his monologue with the rawness of Brando. He played Mr. Cool to the hot-headed coward. No silly afro, no ghetto shoes or jive lingo. He's acted with dignity. He's the final survivor. His only regret, couched safely at the door, his white sweater smells ruined by smoke. His mother will ask what she knitted it for. At the first sounds of rescue, dog barks, sirens, a robin greeting the day, he unbars the door and steps to the window. He's living on hope. Enough hope not to know no one gets out alive. The audience watches the white hunter take aim.
Send the wagon through directly on over.